Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to 345 Tech Talks. I'm Andrew, and I'm today joined by Nino Crudele, who is an Azure MVP, security expert, and a colleague who's currently working on a project with us in the financial sector. So, welcome, Nino. Welcome to the
Hi, Andrew.
345 Tech Talks. And well, first of all, Nino, let's just start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how, very briefly, how you got to where you are, how you became an MVP, and what got you interested in, what you're doing now.
Well, yes. Hi, everybody. I spent the last, I would say, 25 years or something more in IT. Originally from Italy, moved the family 7 years ago in UK, and I became Microsoft MVP in 2006, and this was about integration.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
very focused about integration, all these kind of things. People know my person as the Beast of Grinch.
yeah.
I was very
Because
focused
that's it.
about.
Integration was BizTalk in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Beanstalk, and actually, I was very focused about the Beanstalk, and people used to call me the Beanstalk Grinch for my way, to my chat everywhere, my way to see all these kind of technologies. And after a while, I moved, of course, as naturally in Azure, and that was about integration as well. And I knew Paul when Paul Brown.
Yeah. So Paul Brown,
Yeah,
the
yeah. That
co-owner of
was
345.
yeah.
Yeah.
345, really nice guy, very expert, and that was the first person I knew in UK when I joined Solisoft. And well, I was very pleased about that. Then I start moving my person integration area, Azure, these kind of things, service bus, those kind of natural things. And I had a big evolution, I would say, 4 years ago when I joined a global company, and was the name Hexagon, a big one with a lot of Azure infrastructure and things inside, as a 250,000 employee, to give you an idea.
Yeah.
And
So huge,
yeah, huge,
huge.
huge, and doing everything. I mean, that was something, I would say, ridiculous. I mean, they start from in manufacturing, but inside a lot of different things, many different sub companies, government, everything. I would say everything. Just name it, aerospatial, everything, whatever it is. I was leading the cloud, so my role was cloud lead. And these 4 years, I learned a lot about the governance.
Yeah.
My role was about managing the entire cloud infrastructure, helping the company adopting the cloud, creating, I would say, the proper discipline and governance discipline. And, I was switching from this, I would say, integration mindset, which
Yeah.
was very focused about service bus, all these kind of things, but without any clue about what actually Azure was, which is actually massive. And
Yeah.
this is where I start engaging myself in a lot of challenge, especially governance and cybersecurity. For that reason, I also got the certification in ethical hacking and a master in cybersecurity, because I had to engage in
Yeah.
very
Yes.
seriously in the security
Because you've got
space.
to understand what the attacks are
Yes,
before you know how to
exactly.
defend against them. So,
Yeah, this is
so if,
exactly.
so if we start very, very briefly then, I mean, you talked then about governance, but um, what's the difference, or what's the, how do you describe the relationship between security and governance?
Oh, that's a very nice question, and I like to answer that. Because I had a lot of argument on that.
Okay,
Because, yeah,
I'm
because
not going to argue. I'm just going to
no,
listen.
no, no, you can argue with me. I'm very happy if you argue with me on that. The problem was, first of all, myself, because I had to understand about that, to be honest. And the message in general, when I start engaging these big topics, for me, was a kind of a very smoke environment, I would say, topic. And in the first, I start looking about governance and security like two completely different things.
Yeah.
That was my first approach 4 years ago. But I had to change my mind drastically because governance and security are actually one depending by the other. You cannot have a good governance without security. You cannot have a security without a good governance.
Hmm.
So that is the deal. If you want to have a very good governance, you need to be secure. You need to engage a good security discipline. You need to have a really good understanding about security, how to apply security in your infrastructure, everything. And actually, when you speak about security, we should not speak about people most of the time thinking about hacker or thinking about an
Yeah.
attack or something like that. But
But
security is
it's
much more than that. It's not
well,
just about an attack.
yeah, no security. I mean, but or even I mean, there's leaving aside the malevolent stuff. Security even is, can you accidentally delete stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Misconfiguration attack. What I call misconfiguration attack.
yeah,
Something I had to handle a lot inside the cloud because Microsoft released a lot of feature, many
yeah,
features. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The number of features they release every single day is just unbelievable. The problem is it is really tough, following all this new feature, understanding about how to set all these things, everything. You really need to be careful about what you're doing
yeah.
inside the cloud. I give you a very simple example. The first time I got this, you remember, I'm sure you remember about when Microsoft introduced privileged identity management for global administrator. That
Hmm.
was my first time. First of all, when I learned about what exactly was a global administrator and what was able to do, that for me was something extremely scary. Because
Yeah,
if you think about the evolution on that, think about the security, how hacking and security evolve in the time. So first we had data center. And the approach
yeah,
attacking a data center was completely a kind of different things from cloud. Actually, we had a lot of different endpoints. When you attack a data center, we have a lot of different endpoints to attack. It's not just about, it's not very easy to do something like that. You can get an attack, you can attack one single endpoint in a data center, and you're going maybe to exploit this specific
mm,
point inside the data center, but that's it. In the cloud is completely different because if you hack an account in a data center, it doesn't mean you can hold and attack the entire data center, which is completely different from cloud. In the cloud, if you attack a proper account, which maybe can be the global admin account, you can actually
yeah.
own the entire
Well,
cloud. You
that's
can
if
destroy
you're a
everything.
hacker, that's the account you'd be wanting.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thinking about a person using a global admin account and a T administrator using a global admin account, even using the global admin account inside the computer in the laptop and authenticating in the cloud using global admin account without the consciousness of using tools like PowerShell, which actually cache token inside the
Yeah,
laptop. You can get hacked for that. So,
because your laptop is easier to hack than
yeah,
the cloud.
yeah. So that
Uh,
is what people completely misunderstand here is people looking about closing doors, okay, and say, okay, I close this door, I close this port, I close everything, so I cannot get hacked. But actually, you can get hacked in many different ways.
it's
And
it's
one of
like
them,
it's like you've closed all the doors, you've locked them, but then you've
yeah,
got the
the
key.
problem is
It's
the
like,
key.
anyone want the
Exactly. The
key?
problem is the key. The problem is exactly this one. So I show people one of my preferred attack in the cloud, which is one of the easier one, is one of the easier one, is actually the attack to the cache token. So you use PowerShell. You actually PowerShell is going to cache the token in your machine,
Hmm.
and this is something you can find in MSDN. Is nothing. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah,
anything. no mystery, nothing. And it is very easy just using a PowerShell command, a get exact content, to impersonate this token, impersonate the account, create a backdoor inside the cloud, and job done. And you can actually have a service principal to use in your cloud. This is something I show in some of my sessions, security session. And every time I show this attack to people, believe me, people are completely scared because they don't even understand. Say, what? It's just so easy to hack inside
Yeah.
the cloud. And the problem is this attack is also working in AWS, very easy. Maybe
Yeah,
worse than
because the
Azure.
principles are the same. I mean, whether
Yeah,
it's Azure
exactly the
AWS,
same. It's exactly the same. You
yeah,
use PuTTY, you use, for instance, PuTTY in AWS, and actually PuTTY is going to cache not just token, it's also caching username and password. It's even easier attacking the Linux machine, using the same attack in a Linux machine than using in Azure. So the point is, just going back in these kind of things is when you use a global admin account, you are actually God inside the cloud.
yeah,
That's it. And even if you have a privileged identity management, which for people doesn't know about that, privileged identity management is a feature inside Azure which is going to give you the possibility to use and escalate a global admin account for some amount of time, like I don't know, 30 minutes, 1 hour. After that is going to expire. Well, the problem is for 1 hour you are God. That is
yeah,
the problem, first of all. And second things, because you are God, you're actually able to do a lot of things. One of these is if you go in Active Directory and you go in the properties, there is a setting on the bottom which is actually going to enable for the account access to the Azure resources. If you have a global admin account and you're actually able to enable this specific feature, the global admin account is going to get access to any Azure resource tied to the tenant,
yeah.
which actually devastating. As
Because so, I mean, just sort of winding this back then. Just so what are the you know, when people are like planning their planning their security and governance. I mean, I mean that's yeah, those sort of attacks are the kind of the end of it. But where do you start? I mean, what are the mistakes people make in planning, and what are the things to look out for when you kind of say you go in somewhere and you say, please help us with security and governance. Where do we start? I mean, what's the thought process that you
okay,
start with?
yeah, that's very complex things because many times people start looking about infrastructure.
Hmm.
They just immediately go inside the infrastructure and look inside the infrastructure and check inside the infrastructure using tools or looking about I don't know, recommendation in security center or advisor in these kind of things. In my experience, the most important things when you start an activity like that, assuming a cloud assessment, a security assessment, fair things, I speak with people. I speak with people. I'm looking to understand how they see cloud, how they look about the cloud, what they got about the cloud, the understanding. If they actually have an understanding about the discipline inside the cloud, what exactly is the situation at this level? That I think is the most important thing to do. Is the first point of assessment. It is the most important because it's giving you the idea how much the person, the company, actually understood about governance.
Hmm.
That is the most important point. And after that, then you can start in switching, understanding about, okay, this is what these people are actually missing right now. They don't really understand the importance about governance. I met
Yeah,
companies that
and
actually they don't even understand what governance is. They
and if you don't
thinking
fix
about
if you don't fix that, then
no way, no way.
yeah,
I mean, there are people that company, I chat with many companies and making question like, what do you think governance is? And the answer was, yeah, well, calculating cost, monitoring cost. That was the answer. You say, well, governance is not just like that. It's not just calculating cost or monitoring cost. It's more than that. It's a discipline inside the cloud. It's everything inside the cloud. Everything you're doing in the cloud, everything is governance. Behind that, there is governance. Even Azure, even Microsoft is using governance for that. And question like, are you using policy? Do you have policy? And the answer is, oh yes, we use Azure policy. No, wait. This is not exactly my question. Do you have
Yeah.
policies
What
in
are
your
your own?
company? What
Yeah.
kind of policy are you adopting right now in your companies? Because you cannot even start using Azure policy if you don't have a clear company policy to respect.
Because
These are the kind of discussion I engage with the customer and try understanding how
that's right. Because
actually
the technical implementation of the policy actually needs
it's
the
very
thinking.
easy.
It needs the thinking
Exactly.
first, doesn't it? You got to
Exactly.
do the thinking first, and then you put it into the tech.
Exactly. And after that, I start digging in other question, security question. And to give you an idea, I remember one question was a guy was an IT administrator and say, are you using global administrator and privileged data management? Well, yes, we are doing that. All right. Okay. How many do you have about that? Oh, we have like 100 people elected as a global admin, so they can actually
Yikes!
use privileges. So 100? Really? Oh, yes, but you know, I know these people. I trust them. Okay, that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Because in security, the first things I always recommend to people is zero trust. That's it.
Yeah.
You need to start with this discipline.
Well,
Zero
just
trust. Don't
yeah.
trust anyone, especially yourself. Especially yourself. You always need to think in this way.
Because that's the thing is it's because people say I trust them because they're not going to do anything bad, but
Yeah.
it's not that. It's like people make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing is to give you another idea about this kind of interview I do with the customer, like starting discussion about networking. How you're managing your networking right now inside Azure? What kind of strategy do you have? Most of the time, I get answer like, "We don't have any strategy right now." Okay, fair enough. Other time, I get response like, "Oh yes, so we use different virtual networking for this, for that." And getting this answer and listening this answer, I start understanding about the vision these people have, the customers, the vision the customer has about the networking. If they have a kind of uh, uh, good understanding about the regional dependency between networking and the cloud. Or I make question like, do you exactly know what Azure backbone is? Like that. And most of the time the answer is no, we don't. That telling
Okay.
me these people don't have a real understanding how actually Azure or the cloud works behind the scene,
Hmm.
which is extremely important to know. You cannot organize a network without a good understanding about how actually Microsoft Azure networking works behind the scene, you know. So this is what I normally do, and after that, I start digging, and engaging much more in the technical side in a second step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So when it comes to the initial thinking, then you need to know people need to know what it is they want to do first, and then you start with the tech. But when people actually then say, okay, we know what we want to do, let's go and do the project. We'll start putting this stuff in. What are the things to look out for then? Where do people, where do people go wrong there? What are the big things you've got to look out for in that area?
Well, the first things, from my experience, I support many people when in project, especially when I was in Hexagon, because of different sub company engaging new project. And the first mistake always was like starting first, technical things immediately, starting developing everything and just
Yeah,
pushing in the cloud, do wherever they can. Well, there are some. Uh, we know how these things works. Okay, we know high management they are pushing for the delivery. They want the
yeah.
delivery soon, and this is always the same discussion. And most of the time, is very political discussion around. You know. So
because
what
because all the because that's the thing. There's always a tension between government, the governance and security people
yeah
who want, because that's
yeah
all about kind of well, don't go too far. We've got to check this first. We've got,
Yes,
and then the projects just sort of say, well,
yes,
I'm being told
yeah.
to deliver this project.
Yeah, when I say political is, you know how many times I had to fight with the high management because I was going to enable Azure policy or forcing Azure policy to force people doing something, like for instance, create a virtual networking for a specific schemas or avoiding people spinning up machine from these kind of families or wherever it is or inside the project and getting answer from the management and say, hey, wait. We cannot stop people developing, or we cannot stop people doing this or doing that right now. We need to produce. I say, yeah, okay, but governance is important. We need to control the cloud, and security there is important. We cannot spinning in virtual networking without proper security group or firewalling and do things in proper way, right? And
But this is where you often get the battle, though, is that
yeah,
the
it's always
projects have
there the
got
battle.
the projects have got one set of objectives. The secure people have got another set of objectives, and they fight because they've got different objectives. Whereas
Yeah,
what you really want is for the governance and security people to say, I'm not going to stop you doing the project, but you need to do it like this. And
exactly. And this is the point.
it's that kind of the positive thing. If you need a VM or you need a database, this is how you do it, and
This
make it
is the
secure.
this is exactly the big point. I would say from my experience on the field, the most important point is you need to define clear policy. I mean, for company policy, and I mean document. You need to have a very clear company policy document about the cloud with all very detailed, with all the specification. This is what you can do inside the cloud. This is what you can't do inside the cloud, and explaining people why, because people they really need to understand what the issue is, what the risk is about avoiding things. And after that, you need to get this document approved. That is the big step, and you need to do that inside your company. This is going to be a fight, believe me. It's going to be a fight between you, between the management, wherever it is, but you need to get this job done, and you need to get your support for your internal security team. You need to work together with these people, but you need to get this job done. And when you have this job done, then you have your company policy. And when a new project starts, then you show your company policy. And this is what people need to follow. That's it. Is a cloud adoption. And it need to be a proper, clear cloud adoption. Don't expect people is going to accept anything you say because you are a lead or
Yeah.
because you have this role. You need to document this. You need to provide it to explain people why this is something is right to do. People need to understand that, right? So this is, I think, in my experience, the most important things. And I met many other companies, and without a clear, or even without a Azure uh, Azure company policy, and it was the same things. Always telling me, and it's really hard. When people starting and using the cloud, it's really hard to control them. That's okay. That's normal. You don't have company policy clear. You need to show them they need to follow this company's policy, and that's it. This is being approved by the CEO, the CTO, the CIO, everybody. So for the company, this is a rule. You need to follow that. This is in my opinion, the most important thing you have to do in governance first. Without
That's
that, you are done.
because because ultimately, once you've got the policy approved and people say, I don't want to do it like that,
They
that
cannot.
but the if you sort of say, well, why can't you do it like that? The answer ultimately is just because it'd be easier.
Yeah, no, yeah, no,
that,
no. I
that's
know.
what they're looking for. They're looking for, yeah, they're looking to do something more easily.
Exactly.
But
Yeah,
but as we all know, there's sometimes it's the standards you've got to meet,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and you can't just do the easiest thing. You've got to do the easiest thing that meets the standard.
Exactly, exactly. The point is exactly this one. And when you don't have a standard approved by the company, there is no chance you can control the standard. There is no chance. Because without rule and clear rule, there is no chance you can actually tell people and say, no, no, you need to do this in this way, There is no way you can do another way. Why? Why you saying that? This is not myself. This is not me. This is the company rule. That's it. And you need to follow this rule. At this point, you can even control the very high management because you have the rule. This is a company rule. It doesn't matter about high management. That's a company rule. And this is the only way you have to control the very high management. Which, believe me, it's much more complex and time to control the high management at the lower level. Because the lower level, I mean, you're developer or technical
they're
people.
kind of used to being given the rules by someone
Yeah,
else.
exactly. They give you, but the high management, sometimes they just push you and they tell you, no, no, wait. We have this investment ongoing. We have this money coming. We have this kind of budget and we need to deliver this project. So we cannot follow up this security rule right now. Say, no, no, wait. This is a company rule. There is no discussion on that. It's a commitment. You need to do that. And in this way, I was able to control. I was able to push in a very strong governance inside the company. Before that, I was a mess, to be honest.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, I did a lot of mistakes. Because when I started, as a cloud lead,
Yeah.
I was just I had just an understanding about the integration, these kind of
Yeah,
things,
you didn't
not
have
an
to build.
idea about even what governance was.
Yeah, so you were very much in the building solutions area, but not
Yeah,
in the. Yeah,
exactly. So when I started, my first task from the CIO was about, hey, Nino, we need to understand who is using Azure for what. We need to consolidate all the Azure adoption inside the company. You see, yeah, okay. Okay, I was not even able to understand how uh, I'm going to track who is using Azure, and
yeah,
doing what? Working with Microsoft contract, all these kind of things. And I started from them. Okay, Nino, and now we need to control the cost. How we are going to charge back people using the cloud? Oh gosh, and starting all this discussion about, all right, okay, so what exactly a subscription is? And looking about the message, 4 years ago, the message from Microsoft was, oh, you need to control the cost. Yeah, okay, you need to use resource group, tags, and PowerShell. That's it.
and it'll be
Man.
fine. Well, that's not controlling them. That's maybe getting some data so that you can analyze it.
Yeah, but the problem, think about, okay, I give you a rough idea. Think about having like 5 Azure Enterprise Agreement with 2,000 subscriptions. With I would say everything inside. Think about controlling the cost in an environment like that. They're using PowerShell, resource group, and tags. That's
Yeah.
absolutely impossible. Impossible. And this is why I start experimenting, understanding about what a subscription is. I start looking about, okay, how I can use a subscription. What exactly is the meaning about a subscription? And looking around and speaking with people and getting any kind of question, I remember this guy. This guy's actually wrote a book about Azure and everything. And my question was, hey, what exactly is a subscription? When I need to use one subscription or multiple subscription? And the answer was, well, you can just use one subscription. You don't even need using multiple subscription. I was, well, heck, this is not a real answer for me. At this
Yeah.
point,
I mean,
at this point,
even I could come up with a couple of reasons.
yeah. I also start some discussion with Microsoft sometimes with some people, everything. You say, "Hey, yeah, Nino, yeah, we just use the resource group and tags." I say, well, okay, man, but I can do that. I mean, I have companies everywhere, spinning up project everywhere. I can even control something like that. And there, when I start, organizing in my mind and understanding about using subscription as a cost container, all this kind of approach, even before management group. Because when I started, I remember management group was even existing. And I
Yeah.
was during my conferences speaking about that and say, hey guys, use a subscription as a container. And so at this point is a single invoicing. You can do this, you can do that. And people replying to me or arguing with me and say, well, why you don't just use resource group? You can
Yeah.
use resource group as a container and you
But,
can control
but
cost control.
subscription's it's a billing container, but it's also a security container as well.
It's also security container. And people say, yeah, okay, but why you use a multiple subscription? I think this is not correct use to many subscription. And my answer was always the same. Ah, okay. So for you, it is correct to use a multiple resource group. So what is the difference about using 1,000 resource group or I don't know 100 subscriptions? What is better or what is worse, right? This is not a discussion. This is not even a discussion, right? This is the point about you need to have a clear understanding about what a subscription is, how to use a subscription, and for what. You need to identify subscription is a single cost container, is a single security container. There are some restriction about subscription, and you know that. There are product in Azure using and depending billing by subscription. That can be one reason. You can even, you have a subscription tied to the tenant. This is another reason to use a multiple subscription because you need a different tenant. You need to isolate in a different tenant a specific subscription. This is another good reason to do that. You need to centralize your security. This is what I like to push every time. A good governance is using a base subscription on top, put in there all your shared asset like express route, firewalling, just move all your on-premise access to this base subscription and you spearing from that to the subscription from that. This is an amazing approach to do. And I started using this approach 4 years ago, before everybody will start looking about that and using this kind of approach. Now is a big best practice. Okay.
Yeah. And
Of course, this was my experimentation 4 years ago.
and now everyone's doing it. So, so that's kind of one of your secret weapons. What other sort of secret weapons do you have that you kind of that you've had to develop and now they're best practices? Or
Well, my secret weapon is first of all has been I would say um the biggest one was about motivating people in the company.
Mhm.
I would say because when I start, I had many people around, many groups, networking group, security group, many other people working other different technologies, with a good understanding about technologies, of course, like networking team, really strong understanding about networking, all these kinds of things, but without a clue, without a discipline, a clue about cloud or how actually a cloud works, everything. And we know how a company works inside, and people say, hey, why do I need to invest all my time now, learning all this new stuff, right? And you cannot just ask people and say, hey, come on, we need that. Come on, go inside. You need to move your network knowledge inside the cloud knowledge now. You need to understand what actually is express route, virtual networking, network security group. If people say, well, yeah, okay, and this is the kind of things that is a massive challenge, to be honest. So I started developing these motivational things inside the company. I start organizing things inside the company and motivate people or engaging, these kind of new things inside and blogging, for instance, blogging inside the company, creating a community inside the company, Azure community inside the company. If people start blogging, do things, creating micro event inside the company where people can just enjoy, they can just show their expertise to other people. And people really like that. Security was something very special because the first things I did, I created a red team, a blue team, started organizing challenges inside the company. So I was just spinning up the honeypot subscription. You need to have a honeypot subscription in your Azure environment. You must have a honeypot.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's a honeypot. It's actually is a
Yeah,
honeypot. It's a hacker terminology. So
yeah,
actually, you create something where hacker they say, "Oh, well, look at that!" That people just get a hacker get just attracted by all this open
yeah,
endpoint, everything. But actually, it's fake. You just open this endpoint and let people and hacker just hacking inside this subscription. You just spinning up a virtual machine with 3389 port open or 22, just leave the machine in there. You will start seeing hacker hacking your machine, believe me, starting, engaging with this machine. And you can actually look at that and say, oh, well, that's interesting. You can see even hackers
See what they're
trying that.
doing.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they are doing. And organizing even challenges. So you actually organize, you can do this in many different ways. Okay. There are in Azure, you can see there is the quick start template. You go in Azure, look in Google quick start template, and very easily you have the R template to create even a kind of complex infrastructure very easy with R. You deploy this in the cloud, and after that you just leave open things like a no security group, leave port open, just create a thread inside, right? Create thread inside, open, create a logic app with a select start from table, and waiting for a SQL injection attack, and let people doing that. And this is going to be for the red team. In the blue team, teach people what an Azure Sentinel is, how to set up an Azure Sentinel, how to get an Azure Sentinel alerting, and look about how to manage an incident, using Azure Sentinel. And not just about using Azure Sentinel, there's another good point. You need to have a document for the incident management process. So people really need to understand, and this is a good opportunity for you to actually check your documentation. So you can actually look about your incident management process document, look at that, and look if in case of red, I would say, critical, I would say, attack, are actually your people are going to react and say, okay,
Mm.
who I need to call, who I need to send an email for
Yeah.
that.
What's the
What's the
process from
point?
this point?
What's the
Yeah.
process? There is no answer on that, man. There is the incident management process document, everything in there. You need to be able to find this information very quickly. If you don't, it's because or the document is wrong, or you are not reading the incident management process document. You are not aware about that. This is wrong. This is not good. And this is where people getting really motivated, and of course, certification. People really enjoy that. So you need to push the company to make people certify about everything, ethical hacking, Azure
Yeah.
certification, all these kind of things. And because Azure people really enjoy that, say, hey, the companies care about me. He really care about me now. She really want me to be an expert. She asked me to get this certification, and this is good for me because I'm going to be an expert about this and about that. I can reuse this certification. This is my person.
Yeah.
I do all of these things, and that was my big step. When I start engaging also these things, or people start motivating, working much better in the cloud, and that was a big step, in my opinion, inside. Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So I've just got one more thing to cover off, and that is really, as you know, we do a lot of work with financial services,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and which is a regulated industry. Pharmaceuticals is another that's got a huge amount of regulation.
Yeah.
Is it any different for those for regulated companies? What's the difference in approach for those type of companies, or is it effectively, or the best practice is universal?
Well, Microsoft Azure offer, this is really good to be honest from Azure. But you can set up and easily spinning up a regulatory compliance inside Azure. This is offered by Security Center. This is something that saved my life when I was in Hexagon, to be honest. Because when we start many different projects and military defense and bank or wherever, they actually require a specific regulation, ISO or PCDRs or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And every time in the first was the tough things is, okay, what I need to control inside my infrastructure, what I need to do inside my infrastructure in my solution to be compliant. And using regulatory compliance approach inside the security center for me was a lifesaver. That's it. And using this kind of approach was very easy, to achieve the compliance because actually this is what the customer is asking to you, the client is asking you, just to show me you actually compliance inside your Azure infrastructure. That's it. And you need to be able to provide this document ASAP, right? Um, Second things is about, of course, companies are also asking more than that. And in this case, that's a teamwork. You cannot even thinking about doing something like that alone. Um, for me, I was Azure lead, so I was as a cloud lead or expert, wherever it is, looking much more about the certification inside Azure, everything, which is something that sometimes is even different from what exactly the client, because the client sometimes is actually expecting with different regulation like GDPR.
Hmm.
You cannot cover GDPR right now inside Azure. There is no compliance about that.
Well, again, so much of GDPR is about humans rather than computers.
Exactly. This is why you are not able to cover using Azure. I
Yeah.
mean, there is nothing inside Azure able to provide something like that. That's a massive challenge. You cannot even thinking to achieve a GDPR compliance without a really strong teamwork. And you need to have a different kind of expertise inside, just about technical things. Be technical is also about law, is about of course, governance is also about security. There are many, many different aspects. It's a team job, that's for sure.
Yeah, and actually, categorizing your data is an important thing as well.
Yeah,
It's just having that metadata that knows what type of data you've got. It's not just that
yeah,
there's data, but knowing having some way of identifying what that data means and
yeah, exactly.
whether it's personal, PII, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because a computer's not going to know. it's,
Exactly.
it's
That
just
that's
data, isn't it?
exactly the point. And most of the time, I remember when we got some GDPR compliance, it was always an arguing discussion between people and say, "What do you think of this data? Do we need to encrypt this data or not? This is sensitive data. It's not. Yes." Some people that when the expert is not to come down and say, "Yeah, this is sensitive data. I'm telling you that this is by law.
Yeah,
We need to save this data. This data need to be encrypted. This is what I'm telling you. There is no other person able to tell you something like that." And the problem is sometimes people just get this easy and say, yeah, okay, this is easy. Don't we just encrypt everything? You cannot encrypt everything. This is not the point. You can't
yeah,
do that. It's definitely a team job. This one. It's very, very
yeah,
complex topic. Very complex. I'm not an expert about getting a standard. I'm honest because very to I'm very much to the Azure side, so I'm very good on uh, helping company, everything like that. And that, but of course, uh, it is a team job, and you need to be able to work in a team job like that. That is the key point. That's the
yeah,
thing is the really key point on that. You know.
yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Nino, I think we're pretty much out of time on this at the moment. So that's been thanks ever so much for coming
Oh,
on
my
the podcast
pleasure.
today.
My pleasure.
So briefly, yeah, do you want to just tell everyone sort of how they can get hold of you, where your blog is, all that sort of thing, and any other websites that you want to point people at?
What do you mean for blogging?
For whatever you want.
I mean, you
Just
work for what? To motivate people or something like that? I can tell you people that
just any of your stuff really,
my
because you're
stuff.
because you're still blogging, aren't you? Where's your yeah
Yeah, I'm blogging. Blogging a lot now about security things, everything. People are really enjoy one of my last tools. The name is Aziverso. It's a free tool for
yeah
Azure. It's something I started building long time ago and using in the cloud. Everything you can do a lot of things like calculating costing, managing cost, and hacking stuff. So if you enjoy also these kind of things, scanning cloud, any kind of things, and look about that because
yeah.
actually I checked last
We'll
time
we'll
was
we'll, we'll put the link to that in the notes.
okay, cool. Look about that. it's it's something really funny to use, and even Microsoft when they look about this tool, they really enjoy the way I'm actually using the Azure REST API resource from this tool. It's quite a crazy thing. So and look at that. I'm sure
Yeah,
people will enjoy that. That's for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
And if you need anything about governance or cybersecurity, write me. I mean, people know me. I'm very easy
Yeah,
guy.
There's only one Nino.
There is only one Nino, yeah. And now I'm the Azure Grinch, maybe.
Okay.
Before I was, I don't know.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Nino.
You're very welcome. My
And
pleasure.
and thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
All
Okay. Bye
right.
now.
Bye bye. Bye.